I was researching for this video and I found out that Prince Decisions, or however you pronounce his last name, is the designer of Prince of Persia Sands of Time, and later Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. In 2010, he left Ubisoft. After a hiatus, he joined THQ in Montreal in 2011, which went bankrupt in 2012, and Ubisoft acquired the assets from THQ, which included the IP rights to 1666 Amsterdam, which was the game that he was working on, and Patrice's contract. After some fighting, he was fired from Ubisoft, but he wasn't done fighting. He had to get his IP to the game back. And after 3 years, they settled out of court. He spent all his money, but he got the IP back. Later, he founded Panache Digital Games, and I found out that in 2020, they released Ancestors: The Humankind Odyssey. Now, I'm not sponsored or anything, but I like his games very much, and I'm checking it out. What about you? Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Farik, and I'm a game developer, and for some time I've been thinking about how Prince of Persia was deleted from the face of the earth for many years of the last decade. And there are two main reasons for that you can find on the internet at least. One is that Ubisoft is a money-hungry corporation. Surprise! And Prince didn't deliver, and two is that Assassin's Creed is the spiritual successor, and Prince lives on. I do agree with both of those statements, but in this video we're gonna go deeper since I think it's a bit more nuanced than that. And I have to probably mention the remake, and I'll do that at the end of the video, so stick around to get all the fun. By the way, I started this YouTube channel very recently. I'm making content pretty regularly every week, and if I do say so myself, it's pretty good content on the internet. And please go subscribe if you want to see more, and click that bell. Yeah. So the first thing that I mentioned is that Ubisoft is a money-hungry corporation. Surprise again. And then faced with Assassin's Creed, they just decided to let the IP go, the Prince of Persia IP. And I agree on that, but as I said, it's more nuanced than that. First point that I want to put forward is that Ubisoft actually tried to go big with Prince of Persia. Ubisoft brought the IP from Maslow in 2001. I think it was a company that Jordan Mechner, the creator of the series, was working with at the time. And then the Sands of Time series happened, which was a big success. Then in 2008, this game happened, which I'm gonna ignore. And then the Prince of Persia, The Forgotten Sands, which was terrible. You should check out my latest video for that. It was a tie-in game. It was supposed to accompany the movie that came out at around the same time. However, Ubisoft didn't know that in order to achieve the same levels of success as likes of Witcher, Cyberpunk, or League of Legends, you need to do two things. The movie or series must be really good, and the game must be so good or broken as hell, but hyped to oblivion. And they didn't have any of that. The movie had some good action pieces, but the plot wasn't really there, and it didn't make the budget back. Also, the game was possibly quite rushed just to meet a deadline. And after research and reading around Reddit, there are some cut features like armor on his right arm, which was supposed to incorporate parrying and blocking like the previous games. And it was implemented in the Wii version, but not on the consoles or PC. And just look at these pictures. This is just a weak attempt. The Prince only looks similar. The story is mostly disconnected. Ubisoft, if you want to do tie-ins, just do better, I guess. And another thing that I read about the IP rights is that Jordan Mechner, the creator of the series, gets a percentage on every sale or something like that. I heard that Ubisoft doesn't like that. I don't know how true that is or how much Ubisoft is not willing to give up any money on its products. I'm just gonna leave this one in the script for now in the video, I guess. And that's a perfect segue for the next part of the video, which is Assassin's Creed. Ubisoft found another gold mine, and they didn't have to share the revenue with Mechner anymore. And there are actually two sentiments about this. One, that Assassin's Creed killed Prince of Persia, and the other Assassin's Creed being the spiritual successor to Prince. And I don't really think Assassin's Creed murdered Prince of Persia. That decision or ability lies in the hands of Ubisoft. But I already talked about that, so let's talk about the spiritual successor thing. First, let me talk about how Assassin's Creed came to be. Assassin's Creed was supposed to be Prince of Persia Next Gen. Patrice Désilets, the guy that I talked about at the first, the game designer or director, was tasked with this after it was done with Sands of Time, the first game in the series. Yes, the production of Assassin's Creed was started right after Sands of Time. Those two games, Warrior Within and The Two Thrones, was done by a different team or something like that, I guess. Patrice was actually horrified. Not really, I said that to amplify the situation. He took inspirations from Alamut, which included the group of Hashashins, which is basically the same word for assassin in another language, which occupied a castle in the Middle East, and they carried out some assassinations in the real world some centuries ago. And he didn't like using a prince because a prince was always replacing his father, or taking the throne, or taking the responsibilities to his people. And they changed it to Prince of Persia Assassins. Assassins was meant to be the group of people that the game followed, but it was still in the same universe. But sometime after that, Assassin's Creed was its own thing, and Prince of Persia was left behind. But there are some similarities between Assassin's Creed and Prince of Persia in terms of design principle used in the games. First, you might think Assassin's Creed is an open world game, and you might say Prince of Persia was not. Faruk, you're dumb. But if you have watched my last video, you know you should really subscribe to my channel. And like, by the way. You're watching the video till now, right? The design of the game and the implementation was very limited, and it's true that the director or designer just worked on Sands of Time, the first title in the series, but Prince of Persia was also moving in the direction of an open world game. Warrior Within, the second game in the series, happened in the Island of Time. And in that game you could roam the island freely. But the story and the game was still linear in a sense, and the island was not so big. There were no other ways from one point to another, which resulted in backtracking. And that's a sin in game development. But also, the Two Thrones, before it became the Two Thrones, that's a hard sentence to say, was supposed to be an open world game in the city of Babylon. And that was just bad. The studio in Casablanca developed a demo, and in 9 months they had to ship the game. They scrapped those plans and focused on just releasing the game in 9 months, which became Two Thrones. By the way, there was a witch hunt, and I think there still is, about how Prince of Persia 3 wasn't supposed to be the Two Thrones, and they were trying to get the Kindred Blades, which is basically that scrap game, the video that you're watching right now. Comment down below if you want to see me release a video about that. I actually read many interviews. Also, the stealth mechanics introduced in Assassin's Creed was also in Prince of Persia, but only in the Two Thrones. Albeit, Assassin's Creed, the first game, and the Ezio trilogy had social stealth on top of the regular stealth mechanics. I didn't even consider this until I looked around in Assassin's Creed subreddit, so thank you guys for that. But I must say, the stealth slowly died over the years in the series. The social stealth just waned completely, and in Origins and Odyssey, I didn't play Valhalla, so factor that in. It's just there, and the game is following in this direction of putting combat at the forefront and not really supporting the stealth mechanics really well. And the combat is changing as well from the first games to the last games. Like Prince of Persia. Prince of Persia had these Sans abilities in the first 3 games, but that became a horrifying mess in Prince of Persia Forgotten Sands. Really check out my last video. And the platforming. There was a reason that I put Old Ezio on the thumbnail, because I believe it was the last time that platforming was close to Prince of Persia. Assassin's Creed games up until the later titles was kind of focused on make the world fit an assassin's shoes. You see in Prince of Persia, the paths and routes for platforming were carved out. Each level was this platforming set piece that was put together by designers or the creators or developers who, whatever that job title or responsibility is. In Assassin's Creed, they had to develop the whole thing in a way that an assassin can navigate it, the whole map of the game, whatever the setting is. And some compromises were made. The buildings in Assassin's Creed, they had to make a choice on if an assassin can climb it or not. Yes, this meme is actually referencing this thing. They had to design and put these tiny places so an assassin can climb onto these. And even if Revelation simplified some things or made the platforming easier or faster in a sense with the hook blade, it showed that the assassins are becoming more resourceful over the years. And we didn't get these set pieces which platformers love, but instead we got these ultra tiny set pieces which were sprinkled across the open world, or just put there so you can infiltrate a castle or a building that they wanted to make sure your point of entry is only that. But in the Ezio trilogy, we had these tombs, which were basically platforming puzzles put together in a similar way to Prince of Persia, only lacking those traps in Prince of Persia, but they were still a nod to Prince of Persia. I actually played Revelations very recently just for these tombs, and in one of the tombs, this happened.
But I messed it up. And there is no time rewind. Jesus. It was so much like that. Okay, I have a time rewind. Just like Prince of Persia.
That, my friends, is showing that the experience was so similar that my subconscious couldn't differentiate Assassin's Creed from Prince of Persia. And I was really expecting to save that moment with time rewind. And I didn't talk about the time rewind because for some time I was thinking why they didn't give us a rewind in Assassin's Creed. It fits well, just a feature in the Animus. The observer can rewind time, or the player, whoever that character Desmond was in the earlier titles. It's not as cool as the Sands of Time, the fantasy and all that, but at least it's the coolest feature on Earth. And I started looking around for some answers, expecting nothing, but I found out why it was added in Prince of Persia in the first place. And it seems in the early testings, they were dying a lot, the developers who were testing the game. And for some reason, this wasn't the case probably for Assassin's Creed. Maybe the lack of traps in the game, or just the combat were far smoother. For whatever reason, the rewind mechanic was not included. But going back to the tomb thing, after Revelations, the tombs were not developed anymore. There are probably some exceptions, comment down below if you know one of them, but there is almost none, if I remember correctly. And on top of that, the platforming and climbing in modern games were streamlined, and the protagonist just became so powerful that it seems they can climb everything and anything. The designers just make a decision if they want you on a ground, on a rooftop or not. That's the only decision. The protagonist can literally climb anything. And that's how and when Prince of Persia exactly died. I think around the same time as Revelations came out. But I told you that I was going to talk about the remake, so here it is. Ubisoft saw the success of the remakes in the last years. I'm taking a guess, but probably the same thing happened, and tasked a studio in India called Ubisoft Mumbai, or however you pronounce that, with the remake of the Sands of Time. And I don't want to throw them under a bus or anything, the studio, but I've heard that they are not experienced as much, and this is their first try at a AAA title. And the trailers showed that it's not a AAA title, or it is, but from some generations ago. And the community was not silent about this. They agreed to delay the game until it was ready. However, it seems they had more problems, and Ubisoft Montreal picked up the game, the original studio that developed Sands of Time. And it was supposed to release last year or this year. But the latest update was that it's still in development. They don't have a release date and the pre-orders have been refunded. This can be a good sign since it means they want to nail the game, do not crunch it, and deliver a good experience. But if you look at the recent news that's coming from Ubisoft, it can be a bad sign as well. Multiple titles have been cancelled. Skull and Bones delayed for 6 more months after many delays. And now you can even consider Prince of Persia Remake as a part of this disarray. And we can only hope it's not in development hell and abandoned some months later. I'm gonna keep watch, and if you want to get notified, I will make a video on that if we get some news or trailers or anything. And click that notification bell so you can get the news for that thing. I might do news sometime in the future and some good quality content. If you liked it, like it, and write your opinion about this in the comments section down below. And this video might be long, so just end it, I guess. Bye-bye.